New today, Missouri lawmakers took the first step to help childhood sexual abuse victims. A Senate committee approved a bill to extend the statute of limitations.
KCTV5's Missouri Capitol reporter Hannah Falcon is live in Jefferson City. Hannah, I understand victims have fought for this for years.
That's right, and this is the next part of something that they have been working on for years, because last year, both Missouri and Texas passed Trey's Law, which avoids non-disclosure agreements in these child sexual abuse cases. I mentioned Texas because that's where a lot of these victims currently live or are from, even though they experienced sexual abuse coming here to Missouri for summer camp. Today, we heard from some of those victims for the first time after their non-disclosure agreements went void. Missouri puts a timeline on when victims can file a lawsuit against their childhood abusers. They have to speak out before they're 31. Victims of abuse from Missouri institutions came to the state capitol today to convince these lawmakers to expand the timeline indefinitely, which insurance adjusters say could have unintended consequences.
The consequence is that a non-corporate party is exposed to the same unlimited liability as a perpetrator themselves.
There's just no way to properly heal and then understand how to actually go speak out and find justice within that timeline that's given in the state of Missouri.
Today, Missouri lawmakers took the first step toward passing this bill when a committee approved it. If it is ultimately passed, it will be up to Missouri voters whether or not to allow victims to file these lawsuits retroactively. Reporting live in Jefferson City, I'm Hannah Falcon, KCTV 5 News.
Hannah, thank you.